Hello, everyone. Warren Buffett once said, "Someone is sitting in the shade today because someone planted a tree a long time ago." Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Adra Winful, Assistant Manager for Corporate Affairs at KPMG, and I'm delighted to be your MC for today's session. It's a pleasure to welcome you to what promises to be an inspiring and thought-provoking webinar. This afternoon, we'll begin with opening out remarks from our partner, Echo Annabelle, KPMG Ghana, who also leads the Planet Pillar team, a group deeply committed to sustainability and environmental stewardship. Following that, we're honored to hear keynote messages from our distinguished guest at the United Nations Development Programme, UNDP, Dr. Abdul Razak Saeed, whose insights will help frame today's conversation within the broader global climate agenda. Then we'll dive into a dynamic panel discussion where experts will share powerful perspectives on how the private sector can drive meaningful change and collaborate effectively under the Green Ghana framework. To wrap up, we'll open the floor for a brief Q&A session, a short video, and then leave you with a call to action, a reminder that each of us has a role to play in shaping a greener, sustainable. But begin. It's my pleasure to introduce our speaker for the opening remarks, Echo Annabelle. Echo Annabelle is more than just a partner at KPMG Ghana. He's a driving force behind the firm's sustainability journey as the OIP Planet lead. With a deep commitment to environmental stewardship, Echo leads KPMG's efforts to reduce its ecological footprint, aligning the firm's strategy with the KPMG Global Impact Plan and the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals, SDGs. He's also a member of the National Sustainability Reporting Implementation Committee, a body charged with the implementation of the IFRS S1 and IFRS S2 in Ghana. His leadership goes beyond strategy. Echo is a catalyst for change, championing cross-functional ESG initiatives, and inspiring a culture of accountability, innovation, and climate action. Whether collaborating with colleagues or engaging stakeholders, he brings passion and purpose to every step of the sustainable mission. Please help me welcome Echo Annabelle. Yes, go ahead.
Hello, good afternoon. Can you please confirm if you can hear me?
We can hear you.
Okay, all right. Thank you. Thank you very much, Adjua. And good afternoon to everyone. Thank you so much for joining us today for this webinar to discuss what I call Make Ghana Green Again. This is our own version of MAGA, Make Ghana Green Again. That is what we're going to discuss. The why we should do that, and then the how we're going to do that. So as part of our commitment, our ongoing commitment to the KPMG Global Impact Plan and the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals, that's the SDGs. KPMG in Ghana, in collaboration with UNDP, is proud to support the National Afforestation Agenda under the newly launched Tree for Life initiative by the Ministry of Lands and Natural Resources and the Forestry Commission. 12 months ago, this was known as Green Ghana. As you can see from my t-shirt, we celebrated it as Green Ghana. We have a new sheriff in town, so it's now Tree for Life. And we are going, but as you know, the value is still the same, making Ghana green again, and we are all up for it. Today's dialogue is themed Partnering for Progress, Collaborative Efforts to Grow a Greener Ghana. Our journey began in 2023 when we planted over 2,000 seedlings on a 2.5 hectare stretch of degraded land at Chipa Forest at Agomeda. In 2024, we returned to nurture that survive. We had Owen with us too for that exercise, and it was quite rewarding. In addition, we gave out about 70 seedlings to our staff. That was last year in 2024, to plant in their homes and neighborhoods. We are still receiving the results of that particular exercise, and it's quite encouraging. These efforts are a reflection of our enduring responsibility to help restore Ghana's forest cover, promote biodiversity, and combat climate change. Tree for Life aligns closely with our values, calling on all of us, government, corporate, civil society, and individuals, to be active custodians of our natural resources. The objective of this webinar includes showcasing KPMG in Ghana and UNDP's contributions to the Tree for Life campaign and the broader Green Ghana agenda. We'll also be highlighting the importance of cross-sector collaboration in advancing sustainable development, and then encouraging businesses and development partners to play a more intentional role in climate action and afforestation. And lastly, to spark ideas on how we can each amplify our green impact, starting with the simple yet powerful act of planting and protecting a tree. We look forward to an insightful and engaging session. Thank you once again for being here.
Thank you. Thank you, Echo. It's now my pleasure to introduce our keynote speaker, Dr. Abdul Razak Saeed, on environment and climate at UNDP Ghana. Dr. Abdul Razak Saeed is a seasoned development and climate expert with over a decade of impactful work across sub-Saharan Africa. In his role at UNDP Ghana, he leads national efforts to tackle climate change through mitigation strategies, resilience building, and sustainable natural resource governance, including initiatives like REDD+ and socially just forestry. His policy practice strengthening collaboration between the public and private sectors while aligning national priorities with the Sustainable Development Goals, SDGs, and Ghana's climate agenda. Dr. Saeed brings not only expertise, but also a deep sense of purpose to the global climate conversation. With a round of applause, please welcome Dr. Abdul Razak Saeed.
Good afternoon, esteemed panelists, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. It's my singular honor to set the tone for this Tree for Life webinar under the theme Partnering for Progress, Collaborative Efforts to Grow a Greener Ghana. This webinar is timely as government has just announced its plans for restoration, both under the Ministry of Lands and Natural Resources, and then under the Every Child, Every Tree, under the Ministry of Environment, Science and Technology. This is an initiative that requires all hands on deck, a different level of collaboration that will effectively support the needed scale of greening that is envisaged. A greener Ghana will provide a healthy ecosystem that supports the diverse life forms for prosperous development. It's not enough to restore, but ensure that requisite collaborative continue in the nurturing of the tree plants. We all have heard that trees, especially the huge block of forest in the Amazon and the Congo, are referred to as the lungs of the earth. And we cannot achieve a green world without having local and forest communities engaged, farmers engaged, and also, of course, key indigenous people in various parts of the world. Their knowledge and then also the combination with science and technology is key to make sure that greening the world or greening Ghana is essentially met. Also, there's a role for digital technology within this greening agenda. Digital technology such as AI can help to understand and address what is happening with respect to the efforts being put in place to green Ghana, and therefore to be able to make informed decisions in real time. Outside of the local communities and forest dwellers, for businesses and private sector to also play key roles and should be therefore be brought into the fold. This is essential because we normally have a nexus of agriculture and forest playing a key role, and so those areas then tend to be supply chain areas for most organizations. But then the greatest force is for us as citizens to engage in this campaign in various ways, building ourselves or also having to plant trees ourselves. Of course, we are looking at economic trees and fruit trees, which also increase food access and security. We owe it to posterity to develop green and remain good stewards of the environment. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Abdul Razak Saeed. Hello, can you hear me? Hello, can everybody hear me?
Loud and clear.
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, thank you. Sorry, ITS. I'll continue, sorry. To guide us through this important conversation, I'll hand it over to Abigail, who will be leading the discussion. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome again to the very first Tree for Life webinar today. We gather here under the inspiring theme, Partnering for Progress, Collaborative Efforts to Grow a Greener Ghana. It's a privilege to be moderating today's discussion as a passionate advocate for environmental sustainability and a proud member of KPMG Ghana's Planet Pillar team. Our theme today is not just a title, it is a real call to action. And we are lucky to have an outstanding panel with us today, people who are actively driving collaboration and partnerships that are making a real difference. To get started, I'm happy to introduce our panelists. First up, we have Julius Ayibo, an Associate Director at KPMG Ghana and a Chartered Accountant with additional certification as Insolvency Practitioner. He leads our sustainability initiatives in the Planet Pillar team under the KPMG's Impact Plan in Ghana and Nigeria. He led planting over 2,000 trees with a commendable 50% success rate. He also champions internal environmental campaigns, including supporting carbon footprint tracking, and contributes to global climate dialogues. Beyond rare afforestation, he also supports tracking and actively contributing to regional dialogues as well on climate action and sustainability. Please welcome Mr. Ayibo with a virtual applause. Okay, thank you. Joining us as well is Osei Asenso NG, a Senior Manager for ESG and Sustainability at KPMG Ghana, with extensive experience across Africa. He specializes in ESG transformation and sustainability assurance for both public and private sectors. He's also involved in all 4 pillars of KPMG's impact plan: the planet pillar, prosperity, people, and governance. His experience includes facilitating internal and external capacity building workshops, contributing as a thought leader and panelist on sustainability and climate-related initiatives. His voice today brings a strong cross-sectorial perspective on the private sector's critical role in the Tree for Life agenda. Welcome, Mr. Nchi, to this session.
Thank you very much, Abigail. It's good to be here.
Thank you too. And finally, we welcome Mr. Ayobi Frimpong, an environmental management specialist at UNDP Ghana and a passionate advocate for actionable environmental stewardship. He is also a member of the Institute of Environmental Management and Assessment. With over a decade experience, he has worked with governments and institutions to drive practical environmental strategies. His work bridges policy and grassroots action, supporting environmental governance, public health, and sustainable development. Welcome, Mr. Frimpong.
Thank you for having me.
Together, this panel brings a dynamic blend of policy expertise, private sector innovation, and environmental knowledge. Thank you, our panelists, for joining us today, and we are truly looking forward to the unique perspective each of you will bring to the theme in the discussion for Partnering for Progress. We will start with a few questions related to our team, and then we'll open the floor for audience questions towards the end. So let's dive into the conversation. Mr. Frimpong, UNDP has been a strong supporter of initiatives targeted at greening the environment, including community partnerships for tree planting. What impacts have you seen from these efforts so far?
Well, thank you, Abigail, for that question. And good afternoon again to you and then the rest of the panel, and also those who have joined us this afternoon. Let me first start by saying that for us at the UNDP, really, as you said, we have been involved in a lot of initiatives that is targeted at planting trees. But interestingly, we don't see it only as a tree planting initiative. First and foremost, we are a development organization. What that means is that for everything that we do, whether it relates to planting of trees or providing boreholes, our aim is to look at how this deliver development to communities and to people. And so for what we have been doing in terms of planting trees, in terms of supporting restoration within communities across Ghana's landscape, we've seen a lot of impact on people's livelihoods. Let me give you an example. We work in a number of communities in a place called Gosu, which is the capital for the Ahafo region. In that particular area, we have worked with the communities to introduce agroforestry schemes that is aimed at helping these communities to be able to improve the yields on cocoa farms. And what we've seen as impact has been that because of these practices of integrating trees on farms, they are now able to increase cocoa yields, which is also impacting on the pockets of these people. They're also introducing other schemes together with our partners in government, like the Forestry Commission, to restore areas on forest reserves, where the communities are identifying ways to also benefit in the mid-term, in short term, through integrating crops in forest reserves. And by so doing, they're able to benefit and reap the benefits within the short term through the sales that they make from the crops, whilst also looking at a long-term benefit in terms of the sale of mature timber down the line. So we can see that in doing all of these things, once we have that lens of development, we are able to see the impact on people's livelihoods and also see how that is impacting on communities and also as a nation. So these are some of the impacts that we at UNDP have seen when it comes to the work we have been doing with communities, when it comes to restoring the landscapes that have become degraded. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Frimpong. That's a very powerful impact. And the idea that it's not just about planting trees, but also it's more of planting a mindset, a green culture. Because when communities feel ownership, that's when real lasting change happens. So that leads me to another perspective. Mr. Ivo, KPMG has also mobilized staff and resources to support tree planting. How do these initiatives contribute to the firm's broader sustainability agenda?
All right. Thank you very much, Abigail. Very important question. And the whole idea, as Mr. Ayorubi rightly, alluded to, is to cultivate a mindset shift change. All right. So in KPMG, we have a plan which we call our impact plan. And one of the key pillars of that plan is the planet pillar, for which reason we are having this conversation today. And some of the key initiatives under that pillar is how we green our environment. So for instance, as Eko indicated at the beginning, in 2023, we led a firm of gallant KPMG staff to plant about 2,000 seedlings in a depleted cheaper forest in Agomeda. Our follow-up assessments of the trees indicated about a 50% survival rate. Last year, we did a similar thing, not at the same scale. About 70, seedlings were shared across the firm for people to plant at homes. So we are doing all of this because we want to inculcate in our people the culture of planting trees, maintaining trees, to ensure that our environment is kept safe and serene. And all these are all, targeted at the overall UN Sustainable Development Goals. I'm sure a number of us may have followed the COP, and then the conversations that have gone on, the targets to reduce greenhouse emissions by a certain number by 2030. And we believe one of the ways to achieve that is to plant trees. So internally, we are driving that change, and we are driving those behavioral changes that people can nurture trees as living beings, to ensure that we are getting the results that we are getting. So in KPMG, that is what we are doing in that light, and then we would like to encourage everybody on the call to follow suit. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Ivo. That's a great example of how sustainability starts from within. And it's encouraging to see how KPMG is not just ticking a box, but actually embedding environmental action into its culture and empowering staff to also take that forward into communities. So, of course, KPMG doesn't only walk the talk internally. The firm also supports other businesses on their ESG journeys through advisory services. So from Mr. Entry, from your work on advisory clients, how are the Ghanaian businesses responding to the broader shift towards sustainable operations?
All right, sure. Thank you very much, Abigail, and a good afternoon to all our members on the call and panel. So, I think as you rightly mentioned, yes, KPMG is very much involved in terms of advising our clients on how to embed and integrate ESG into their operations, because definitely we can only do or have greater impact if all of us are involved. And therefore, from a client perspective, what we are seeing is there's a lot of there's an awakening in Ghana when it comes to the adoption of sustainable practices and operations. Sustainability is not something new. Right from the days of old, from our grandparents' time and all that, they've practiced sustainability in their own ways. But now we are seeing it as something that businesses and clients are taking up. We are seeing some real actions towards it.
When you look around in terms of sectorial adoption, we see a lot of adoption in our banking sector, in our extractive sector. KPMG put out a thought leadership on ESG reporting in Ghana, where it's looked at listed entities and how they are adopting and eventually reporting on their practices. And it was refreshing to note about more than half of GSE listed entities are doing something. So that can tell you the extent to which private businesses are embracing and adopting these things. We've seen a lot of regulations come from our regulators, the Bank of Ghana, the EPA, the Insurance Commission. Almost all regulators are putting out regulations to guide and enhance businesses adopting it. So, Abigail, in terms of the adoption of sustainability practice, I mean, we can say that yes, Ghana is on the right path to adopting it, and we are seeing that a lot across the clients that we serve. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Inchi. That's encouraging to hear that more businesses, especially in Ghana, are recognizing the importance of ESG. Now, still, Mr. Inchi, what would you say is one of the biggest challenges business face when starting this implementation?
Hey, sure. So I think from our engagement with our clients, I mean, sometimes the difficulty lies in one, knowing what to do, because yes, you know, this forum is targeted at the planet pillar or at tree planting, but impacts can be realized in different ways and forms, and therefore the challenge we see with business is trying to understand in what ways they should have impact on the society or on the environment or in the community. So one is about they intentionally doing that what we call materiality assessment to come to the point that, okay, these are the things that really matters, you know, to our stakeholders, and therefore we should drive sustainability or drive impact towards that. And apart from that, we have a bit of challenge when it comes to people really understanding and appreciating it. Still, we have some clients who are stuck in the ways of going strictly by regulations. And you know that regulations can only be a baseline. You definitely need to go beyond regulations to know what real impact you want to create in the society for your business, for the people, for the community, and all other stakeholders that are involved. So I would say that one is about getting to the point of in what area do you want to create the impact. Two is about really understanding it and knowing what really we want to do. And maybe the third one, as it connects to even reporting, is the data that we need to support some of these things that we do, so that in the end, we will be able to report and then tell our story of how impactful we have been. So that will be my response, Abigail.
Thank you, Mr. Inchi. Yes, data definitely is one of the things that's usually a challenge. Now I'll shift the focus a little to the private sector, from the private sector to public and community level. So Mr. Frimpong, how is UNDP progressing in its efforts to integrate environmental sustainability into local development plans at the community level?
Thank you again, Abigail. And yes, that's a very good question. I can say that working with UNDP for some time now, I've realized that, I mean, for over a decade now, UNDP has worked really at supporting, especially government and also the MMDAs, to really integrate, you know, sustainability practices and of course, environmental sustainability at that, and climate actions into development plans. And what has happened over the years is that UNDP has done this, if you like, using a two-pronged approach, where we, one, start with supporting these things at a more strategic level, or if you like, a more programmatic and a policy/planning level. And here, what we have done is that we've worked particularly with government agencies like the NDPC over the years to help support local authorities to be able to incorporate and integrate climate actions, especially also the SDGs actions, into their local development plans. The essence of doing that is that if you want to be able to create the kind of enabling environment that will allow these development plans to be implemented at the grassroots level, you would need to be able to ensure that at the very macro level, that government agencies that have these mandates really understand and are able to really rationalize the need for these plans to be part of and integrated as a core part of the work that they do. So that is what we have done at the more strategic level. We've also seen that if you have something at the strategic level, and of course the grassroots level doesn't understand and doesn't have the awareness to be able to take advantage of that, then you are missing out on really delivering key results at the grassroots level, which is where the action is at. And so what we've also done at the second level is to be able to engage grassroots. So for example, we've worked with a number of communities at the grassroots level to set up what we call community resource management areas, for example, in areas in the Ahafo region, in the areas in Wasa East, in the areas in the 5 northern regions. We've had a lot of these examples that we can actually show. What these things do is that they help these communities to come up with very, very simple environmental requirements and considerations that are then considered into the bylaws of their local assemblies. And so when that is done, it really empowers them at the local level to be able to then directly impact on issues that has to do with conservation, issues that have to do with protection for natural resources. Just where, of course, a lot of these communities derive their livelihoods from. So by so doing, you create the kind of enabling environment at a more strategic level, and then you help these communities to be able to take advantage of these strategic plans and programmatic actions when they then take the initiative to take action at a more localized level. And in so doing, we've seen that this has been something that has worked quite well, and we think that is really the way to go to really sustain a lot of these actions that we are having in the national plans, and also, of course, having these impacts at a more localized level. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Frimpong, as well. That's clear that integrating sustainability into development plans definitely lays a strong foundation for long-term change. But beyond the policy and planning, there's also still a powerful driver being the private sector leadership. So I'll move to Mr. Aivo. Building on KPMG's contribution to forums like Ghana Green Building Summit, how can the private sector, just as a public, lead and influence in environmental mindsets and policies?
All right, Abigail, thank you very much. Very, very important question. We always say that the private sector is an engine of growth. That's not always, that is not the only part that the private sector plays in the scheme of things. Private sector can help create awareness and then share innovations. When we talk about green buildings, what does it even mean? To people that work within that space, for the consumers themselves. What does a green building mean? If you want to build a house, have you considered some of the key things that have to be looked at when it comes to sustainability? You have a house that has just one small window in some corner, which means that natural light coming into the building is very, very limited. So you always have to be on, electricity. The more electricity you use, the more it means that there will be increased generation. And once generation increases, the potential for greenhouse gas emissions being emitted into the atmosphere is high. So at this summit, KPMG has sought to share innovative ways by which these things can be done, and also create awareness within the ecosystem, so people really understand and appreciate the importance of considering some of these key things when you are constructing a house or building a house. And sometimes these things are not too far away. In your own small way, as an individual, as I rightly indicated at the beginning, having a plan to build a house, have you really considered some of the ways that you can sustainably do that, just to ensure that your imprint on the environment is significantly reduced, and then and it's done sustainably. So these are some of the ways that we have supported, in terms of knowledge sharing and then thought leaderships. And in this Green Ghana Building Summit, I think started in 2017, and then we've been a part of that right from the beginning. And we'll continue, in that, just to ensure the advocacy continues and people are brought up to speed with, what it entails when it comes to buildings, and even when it comes to, developing new cities and all that, how those can be done, sustainably. Thank you.
Thanks, Mr. Ivo. And that's insightful and definitely tells us from both your contribution and that of Mr. Entry that both the public and private sector, if they step up, does not only shift internal practices, but shape larger conversations on sustainability. And that brings us to a key point on collaboration, that's partnership. So, Mr. Entry, how can organizations like UNDP and KPMG collaborate more closely to drive environmental literacy and also ensure policy alignment?
All right, great. So thank you very much, Abigail. I think that this is an example, a clear example of how we can do this. This webinar that we are collaborating with UNDP on, it's a clear one that we need to continue on, because indeed it's a good thing. For me, even if you look at our SDGs, one of my favorites, or not one, my favorite, is the SDG 17 that talks about partnerships, because we can only create bigger impact when we collaborate and do things together. Just imagine all of us, just imagine if it's only Abigail that is planting trees. And imagine if it's all of us on this forum or on this webinar that's, are planting trees. Definitely we can do more when we collaborate. So I think that this collaboration that we have begun with UNDP, we definitely need to continue. Through different channels. One of that is this webinar we are definitely hosting. And then also even some of these thought leadership that we put out, it will be great to have perspective from UNDP, given its international perspective on how it's done elsewhere and how it connects even to the bigger picture of, development. Again, there are times that we also have opportunity to provide some insights, some thoughts to government policies, which I believe is also one area that UNDP, is involved in. That is another area that we can definitely also collaborate on. And in our prosperity pillar, I think Julius mentioned about our plan, which our impact plan, prosperity pillar, where we engage a lot of businesses, even clients, and even some associations on this whole agenda of sustainability. I think we can have more sessions like that together, where we're engaging private businesses with our understanding of the private sector, and then also UNDP, I believe, understanding of the bigger picture when it comes to development. We'll be able to tell compelling stories, compelling messages to our clients to convince them of the need to really embrace and integrate this whole point of sustainability into their operations. So definitely more room for us to collaborate and do more together. Thank you, Abigail.
Definitely, yes. Such partnership definitely show potential for collective action to drive progress. Thank you, Mr. Enchi. Beyond large-scale collaborations, there's a big question for wider business community as well. And Mr. Enchi, once again, what practical steps based on these partnerships can other private companies take to support this Green Ghana agenda beyond tree planting?
All right. So thank you very much, Abigail, again. I think that the earlier question that even posed around the challenge, where I started off with, starts with people really understanding in what areas that they want to create impact. Again, comes here as if a business, a private entity, want to begin to do some of these things that will create lasting impact. For KPMG, we have a simple process that we recommend to our clients to go through. A full process, which starts with first doing that assessment to really understand, in which areas that you want to create these impacts. Yes, some businesses would definitely, because of the stakeholders and the nature of the business, may want to do more in the environmental space, in the social space, in governance space. So you need to have that understanding through an assessment that you conduct. And beyond the assessment, it's important for you to now go beyond that assessment and knowing the ambitions you have, and then also the outcome of that assessment, create a plan. And that is the intentionality that we always advise businesses to put to this, because again, this is not a new concept. Businesses are doing it already, but how intentional are we about it so that eventually we can report, we can tell our impact story. So that intentionality needs to be documented in something like a strategy of a sort or a program that we want to take to create that impact beyond just tree planting. And let's have some of these initiatives also come out. So it's not just enough to have a strategy document, but what are the plans, what are the initiatives that you are putting in place so that your strategy can come to life? So tree planting, some social activities, and even after planting the trees, how many of us have plans on nurturing it? Julius mentioned about KPMG's plans in not just planting, but going there over time to, check on these trees and nurture them. So once we start initiatives, we should also have a way of, monitoring and checking on them so that the real impact, can be realized. And then the last one is also about reporting, to say that it's always good to tell the story so that other businesses, clients, and also all of us, the world can appreciate that, okay, this is what is happening. Some entities can pick up lessons from that and then also can motivate others to even do better. So Abigail, that will be a practical steps. One, do an assessment, do a strategy design, implement it, and then make sure to measure and report your impact. Thank you.
Thank you for those practical insights. Yes, it's obvious that companies can do more to support the agenda, being intentional and through diverse ways, whether social and environmental, as you have said. And now looking beyond big corporations, Mr. Frimpong, how can smaller private sector players, smaller NGOs, civil society organizations plug into UNDP's existing green initiatives?
Thank you again, Abigail. Yes, so look, smaller NGOs, CSOs really are, if you like, some of these driving forces when you go to the very grassroots at the lower, at the community level, isn't it? So for us at UNDP, they are very key to development. And some of the, the avenues that are available or entry points, if you like, that are available for them to engage for us has been one area that we have actually currently been working on quite strongly, and that is through multi-stakeholder platforms. In all the work that we do, we are beginning to see a trend where multi-stakeholder platforms provide avenues for people with technical know-how at the community level, smaller NGOs, MSMEs, to be able to come together and share ideas. And we realize that through some of these initiatives that we are currently, promoting, we are really seeing a lot of impact with some of these smaller NGOs. These are entry points, and a lot of them are taking advantage of these ones to be able to showcase the impact that they can make. We've had examples of, for example, working with people in what we set up a couple of years ago, a waste platform. We saw the impact that a lot of small NGOs and CSOs made when they came together, providing a platform for them, and also private sector and government agencies to be able to share ideas and then co-create things together so that we can have a more sustainable drive when it comes to managing waste within Ghana. We are doing something similar, developing something similar currently when it comes to the cocoa and forest landscapes. And we are seeing that really this is becoming the way to go so that you can get the knowledge from the grassroots level that a lot of these smaller NGOs or CSOs that are within communities already have, and they can then bring that to bear to come up to co-create, specific targeted solutions that can then help their own communities and then be able to move us through the green transition, as you said, that we are all aiming to have when it comes to Ghana. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Frimpong. It's great to hear that these collaborations are happening and there are clear pathways for smaller organizations and partners to also get involved in your work. And sure, interested entities can reach out through your offices. And of course, if we are talking about long-term impacts, we can't leave out one of the most important groups of people, the young people, youth. So Mr. Frimpong, following up on that, what opportunities are available for young people to participate in UNDP's green projects as well?
Yeah, thank you again. And for UNDP, I think that really one of the big themes that really is coming to the fore is young people, of course, and also, women and young people, youth-led MSMEs, youth-led, women-led MSMEs. These are really becoming, more like, the go-to now when it comes to the work that we do in UNDP, because we are beginning to see that supporting some of these groups really tend to give you the level of impact that you desire when it comes to development, and also it comes to, real change on the ground. And really within the UNDP, and not maybe also across the whole of the UN-wide family globally. I think that there are a lot of opportunities that are there. One of them is the UN volunteer program. It's one of the most passionate but also very impactful if you like, programs that we have across the UN, where there are key opportunities for young people to be able to support a number of initiatives across the UN, not just UNDP. In fact, in 2024 alone, across the globe, there were over 14,600 UN volunteers that were deployed in over 170 countries around the world. All of these were supporting key initiatives within these countries so that we can have young people who really can directly impact in a number of ways. And they have a lot of these, trending ways of helping you to be able to reach out to people in communities. And really with working with these ones, we are beginning to see a lot of impact that we are having. And of course, also be able to get our messages across to a wider group of people, many of whom are young in terms of the landscape that we work in. And so really there are quite a number of opportunities. We also at UNDP currently have a flagship program, what we call the Young Africa Innovate program, where we are reaching out to young people, but we are also doing it in a non-traditional way. We are looking at for not the atypical group of people, the people that have gone through the Legons and the other academic institutions that have gotten a certain level of skill at that level. We're also looking at people who are within communities that have got innovative ideas, but then don't have the platform to be able to then showcase these ideas, and giving them opportunities to be able to then cause change within their own environment and within their own neighborhoods. And we've seen that this is also having a lot of impact. Last year, at the time, by December last year, we had been able to reach over 10,000 young persons within Ghana, and over 150 of them are receiving both technical and some financial support to be able to help them bring across their innovations, to be able to have the impact that is needed within our communities. So really, there are a lot of opportunities for young people when it comes to the UN in general, and of course for UNDP. And really, these are also people that we are targeting to work with going forward. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Frimpong. That's encouraging to hear how young people are being empowered, not just as participants, but also co-leaders in this movement. It's been a very powerful and thought-provoking conversation, and we've explored everything from grassroots planting to private sector to youth engagement. And while the work is far from over, today's dialogue reminds us that each action, whether it's to plant a tree, advise a client, or empower a community, moves us closer to a more sustainable future. Now, thank you to our panelists again for the amazing insights and the work you are doing every day to push this agenda forward. To everyone who joined the session, thank you for the time, your curiosity. It's time to also hear from you, the audience. We know you've been listening closely, and we are looking forward to your questions and perspectives. So to guide us through the next segment, I'll hand over to Ferguson Hooper, who will be moderating the Q&A. So Ferguson, over to you.
Thank you, Abigail, for the opportunity. At this point, we would crave the indulgence of our audience that those of us who have questions can drop them in the chat. And for those of you who want to ask directly, you can raise your hand, we'll call you, and then you'll mute and ask your questions. But while we wait for our audience to share some questions or ask some questions, we have one or two questions here to ask our panels. So to Mr. Ayrebi from UNDP, we have this question for you. Maybe help in that you have been involved in mobilizing people and then having community engagements to promote a greener Ghana with the examples you shared, engaging youth. Can you share with us what some of the lessons and the challenges you've come across in your engagement with communities, with youth, and with the public in promoting greener Ghana?
Yeah, thank you for that question. I think for us, yeah, I mean, there are a lot of opportunities that are present in terms of engaging communities and the youth. And as mentioned earlier, really the youth and then the communities really are at the center. And one of the key lessons that we have learned is that if you want to provide solutions that are sustainable, you cannot have them without engaging and getting the support and the buy-in, one, of communities, of women, and of course of the youth, because really once they have the buy-in, once you have the buy-in of these groups of people, it's quite easier to be able to then get your message across, to be able to have the needed impact that is required. So really for us, a key lesson has been that you really need to engage these people when it comes to working. In terms of public and maybe also even public sector organizations, we realize that in fact, working with government provides us with a lot of opportunities. Government have agencies that have been given the mandates to be able to deal with a lot of these things that we are talking about in terms of enhancing or ensuring that we have a green transition. And really, if we work closely with them, they can then help facilitate, they can help bring people together so that we can then be able to have the needed and desired impacts that we require to see and the results we require to see at a more localized level. And so for us, these are some of the lessons that we've picked along the way as we continue to engage, public, community, and also especially the youth when it comes to the work that we do in UNDP, particularly in Ghana. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I think that will be all for now. We have no further questions from our audience. And so I'll hand over to Ed Cole for the closing remarks.
Thank you. Yes, Eko, we welcome you to give a short closing remarks, and then we will show a short video afterwards.
All right, thank you very much. And I think our panelists deserve another round of applause because this dialogue has been quite interesting and captivating, telling us a lot of things from the public sector, the private sector, from individuals, what we need to do, what everybody needs to do. One thing I took away from this all is we're supposed to create impact. And I believe that will start from us as individuals, move into our communities, move into our organizations that we work for, and then eventually the whole country will be caught up in this frenzy. So thank you all very much. Thank you to the panelists, and thank you all for being a part of today's important dialogue as well. The discussions again reinforced a powerful truth. No single entity can achieve sustainable environmental impact alone. We need each other. be it the private sector, the public sector. We need each other. I think Mr. Frepom gave an example of if Abigail was the only one planting trees as compared to everybody on this call planting trees. Definitely will make a greater impact if we work together. So that is one thing that we should all bear in mind. We need each other to be able to make the impact that we have to make. Now, some key insights as well. Partnership is power. Planting is not enough. You just don't plant and leave it, but you need to nurture for growth. And then that is how you can monitor the impact that you are making as well. So, and most importantly, awareness must lead to consistent action. It is not a one-off. Like as Enso said, sustainability is not just tree planting. It goes beyond that, but it starts from somewhere. So we remain at KPMG, we remain committed to walking this journey together. I urge each of us to take today's reflections forward, not just as ideas, but as actions. Whether it's by planting a tree, championing sustainability in your organization, or advocating for greener policies, every step counts, and each and every one has a role to play. Thank you all very much for making time to join us for this dialogue, and we believe that you will go out there and make an impact. Thank you. Over to you, Adjoa.
Thank you, Eko, for those thoughtful closing remarks. We now have a short video before we wrap up the webinar.
Forestation Initiative 2025. Come, let's join. Let's plant trees.
Dear citizens, the President, His Excellency John Dramani Mahama, is calling on all of us to set aside the month of June to plant trees. We are supposed to bring back the green vegetation to make Ghana green again. We have different species of trees, from shade, timber, etc. All that is required of you is to walk to our district or regional offices, pick as many seedlings as you can, and go plant them. Remember, from the month of June 5th to the 30th, let us plant a tree to make Ghana green.
Restore polluted water, promote urban breathing, getting there.
And on that note, a few notes to keep in mind before we wrap up today's webinar. KPMG staff who are registered for seedlings are warmly invited to the forecourt of Marlin House to collect their seedlings. We also have a brief photo session to capture the moment. Once you've planted your tree, don't forget to snap a photo and share it with the OIP Planet Taylor team. We'll love to highlight your contributions on our internal channels. Also, for our external participants, we haven't forgotten about you. If you're joining us from outside KPMG, you can still be a part of this green movement. As our president has said, visit your nearest Forestry Commission office to pick up your free seedling as part of the National Tree Planting Campaign. And mark your calendars on 18 June, a joint team from KPMG and UNDP will head to Chippa Forest in Agromeda to plant seedlings and continue our shared mission of restoring degraded forest areas. Once again, thank you for being part of today's session. And remember, someone is sitting in the shade today because someone planted a tree a long time ago. Wishing you all a wonderful weekend. Thank you.
Tree for Life Reforestation Initiative 2025. Come, let's join. Let's plant trees.
Dear citizens, the President, His Excellency John Dramani Mahama, is calling on all of us to set aside the month of June to plant trees. We are supposed to bring back the green vegetation to make Ghana green again. We have different species of trees, from shade, timber, etc. All that is required of you is to walk to our district or regional offices, pick as many seedlings as you can, and go plant them. Remember, from the month of June 5th to the 30th, Let us plant a tree to make Ghana green.
Restore polluted water, promote urban breathing, getting tree for life.